There's a quiet kind of pain that most men never talk about. It's not the pain of losing a job or failing at something. It's the slow, silent erosion of your spirit when you give your heart to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. You feel it when your silence is used against you. You feel it when your strength is mistaken for something to manipulate. And you feel it most when you start questioning your worth because someone else couldn't see it. Too many men walk into relationships thinking that love will heal their wounds, only to discover they've handed their soul to someone still bleeding from their own. And no, you're drained, confused, disconnected from your power, but hear me, it's not weakness to feel. It's not a weakness to care, but it is weakness to stay when your peace is dying, when your dignity is slipping, and your soul is starving for truth. This message is not about blaming women. It's not about bitterness or revenge. This is about awareness, about reclaiming your power before you drown in someone else's chaos. Because the wrong relationship doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your purpose. And a man without purpose is just drifting, existing, not living. In this video, we'll expose 10 toxic relationship patterns that slowly kill your inner warrior. And more importantly, how to stop them from stealing your future. Sometimes, disrespect doesn't arrive like a storm. It doesn't shout. It doesn't slam doors. It doesn't always come with chaos. Sometimes it enters like a whisper. Quiet, polite, almost invisible. It begins with the small things. You make a decision, something simple, and she laughs. Really? That's what you're going with? It sounds playful, right? So you brush it off. The next time you try again to lead, but this time he ignores you completely. Makes a different choice, tells her friends he doesn't know what he's doing, but I let him try. And you tell yourself, she's joking, she loves me, maybe I'm just being sensitive. That's how it starts, not with shouting, but with the kind of subtle disrespect that gets disguised as humor, sarcasm, or even love. You begin to shrink without realizing it. Now you hesitate before speaking, you look to her for approval before making decisions, you start second, guessing your instincts. You stop taking the lead, and slowly, the man you were, the grounded, confident, driven man, he begins to disappear, replaced by someone careful, small, disconnected, a man who fears conflict because every disagreement turns into punishment. Silent treatment, emotional withdrawal, accusations that make you question your worth, and all the while you keep making excuses for her behavior. She's just emotional, she's been through a lot, she doesn't mean it. But let me ask you this, when did you become the one always apologizing for things you didn't even do wrong? Respect is not a luxury, it's a foundation. If it's missing, the house crumbles, no matter how beautiful it looks on the outside. You see, many men were raised to believe that enduring disrespect makes them stronger. That real men take the hits and keep loving anyway. But true strength is not staying in a place where your soul is slowly starving. True strength is being able to recognize when something is damaging you in ways words cannot explain, and walking away with your dignity intact. We must stop normalizing emotional erosion. When a woman no longer speaks to you with honor, when she sees your presence as a given and not a gift, when she mocks your masculinity instead of cherishing it, you are not in a relationship. You are in a slow death of the self, and the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to hear your voice. That voice inside that says, I don't deserve this. You do not need to shout to reclaim your value. You do not need to fight or argue or force her to see what she's doing. You only need one thing, clarity. The moment you see what's happening, that your light is dimming to keep the peace, you gain the power to change everything. Because no woman, no matter how beautiful, is worth losing your peace, your purpose, or your self-respect. Protect your energy, because once your respect is gone, love cannot survive. Not hers, not yours, not anyone's. There's a dangerous lie that many men have been taught to believe. If she's emotional, it must mean she loves you deeply. But emotion alone is not love. Emotion without responsibility is manipulation. You see, manipulation doesn't always look evil. It doesn't always come in the form of abuse or aggression. Often, it comes wrapped in affection, in tears, in fragile words like, "I just need you to prove that you love me," and you, as a man with a heart, you want to protect her. You want to show her that you're different, that you're not like the ones who hurt her before, so you give more, you adjust more, you bend more, you sacrifice more. But here's what you don't notice in the beginning: she's not healing. She's feeding on your guilt, feeding on your loyalty, feeding on your fear of being the bad guy. And with every small compromise you make in the name of love, she moves the boundary a little further. And slowly you find yourself doing things that don't align with your truth, apologizing for things you didn't do, taking responsibility for her insecurities, giving up friendships, goals, habits, not because they were wrong, but because she felt unsafe. That's not love, that's control. A woman who truly loves you does not punish your independence. She doesn't test your loyalty by creating emotional chaos. She doesn't say, "If you love me, you'd change," because real love isn't a transaction, it's not a tool. It doesn't hold your peace hostage and demand payment. You need to understand something clearly. A man's emotions are not a weakness to be weaponized. But too many of you were taught that being a good man means never letting her feel pain, even when she's the one creating it. And so you take it, you absorb her storms, you become her emotional sponge, but that is not your role. You are not here to prove your worth through self-sacrifice. You are not here to carry a relationship that only exists on your back. And when love becomes a game of control, when her happiness depends on your obedience, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in a contract with unspoken terms, where your silence equals love and your voice is a threat. And the most dangerous part, you'll start to believe it's your fault, that you're failing, that you're not doing enough. But the truth is, you're just not meant to be controlled. A man is meant to lead with clarity, love with strength, and live with peace. So if you find yourself constantly walking the tightrope of her emotions, wondering if today she'll be warm or cold, calm or cruel, it's time to ask the harder question. Is this love, or is this emotional warfare? Let her heal, but don't let her healing destroy you, because the moment you trade your peace for her approval, you've lost both. Many men confuse love with responsibility. You meet a woman who's been hurt, maybe deeply. She opens up to you, tells you about her pain, her trust issues, her trauma. And something inside of you awakens, the protector. You tell yourself, she's been through so much, I'll be different, I'll be the one who doesn't leave, I'll show her what real love looks like. And your heart means it. You become her safe place, her rock, her emotional first responder. Every time she falls apart, you're there to catch her. And that's noble at first, but slowly something shifts. Her storms become more frequent. Her healing becomes your burden. You start spending more time fixing her problems than living your own life. Her chaos becomes the center of your world, and you're no longer just loving her, you're managing her. Coaching her, defending her behavior to your friends, explaining away the disrespect, ignoring your own needs because she's just having a hard time right now. And suddenly, your life revolves around her emotional temperature. When she's happy, you can breathe. When she's angry, the whole day is over. When she spirals, your job is to hold it all together. But who holds you? This is not a partnership. This is codependency. It feels like love, but it's built on imbalance, and imbalance over time will crush the one who gives the most. You see, a healthy relationship is not a rescue mission. It is not your job to fix what someone else refuses to face. You can support, but you cannot save. You can care, but you cannot carry someone who refuses to walk on their own. And many of you have mistaken endurance for love. You think being strong means never breaking down. But true strength is knowing when you are being used as a crutch, not out of malice, but out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of facing themselves, fear of growing, and every time you rush in to save her from her reflection, you interrupt the very growth she needs to become whole. You are not her answer. You are not her bandage. You are a man with a path, a purpose, and a spirit, and if she cannot walk beside you in that journey without clinging to you for survival, then the relationship is not love, it's emotional dependency. Let her face her storms, because when a man sacrifices his identity to hold up someone who refuses to heal, both people lose. She never grows, and he slowly disappears. So I ask you now, are you her partner or her emotional crutch? If you are constantly exhausted, constantly pouring, sacrificing your peace to manage her world, then this is no longer love. It's bondage, and no woman is worth losing your fire. Let her rise or let her go, because no matter how much you care, you cannot heal someone who is addicted to their pain. At first, it feels like love. She calls you her everything. She wants to be around you all the time. She says she's never felt this close to anyone before, and you feel seen, wanted, even needed, so you give. You give more of your time, you give more of your focus. You start compromising, shifting, and making space. But what you don't see is that while you're giving, something inside of you is quietly fading, your purpose. Your rhythm, your discipline, your vision. Slowly, you stop waking up early. You stop going to the gym. You cancel your time with your friends. Your projects are paused. Your growth is delayed because her needs, her feelings, her world, it has become your new purpose. And it sounds romantic, doesn't it, to be so close, so connected, so all in. But what you've done is trade your mission for her mood. And the worst part, she didn't even ask you to. You just forgot yourself. Too many men make this mistake. You meet a woman, and unknowingly you begin orbiting her. She becomes the sun, and you shrink your light to keep the peace. But understand this, Val, you woman doesn't want a man who sacrifices his vision for her comfort. She wants a man who is so grounded in his path that her presence adds to his world, not replaces it. She wants to feel your direction, to trust your leadership, to witness your devotion to something greater than her. But when you abandon your purpose to serve a relationship, you create an imbalance, and that imbalance slowly becomes resentment. You lose your fire, and she starts to feel it. She senses your passivity, your lack of direction. And the very thing she was drawn to in the beginning, your ambition, your focus, your strength fades away. And now neither of you is happy, because the man without purpose becomes restless, disconnected, angry, but doesn't know why. Because deep down he knows he betrayed himself. You were not created to orbit someone else. You were created to move with clarity and conviction. And in a healthy relationship, your woman should encourage that. She should remind you when you drift, challenge you when you slack, stand beside you, not in front of your vision, but next to it. So if you feel like you're losing yourself, if your goals have become distant memories, if your drive is dim, you must return to yourself. Because the truth is, the most dangerous kind of relationship isn't the one where you're mistreated, it's the one where you forget who you are. And no matter how much love there is, a relationship that requires you to dim your fire, it will eventually burn out your soul. Protect your mission and let your relationship rise with you, not at the cost of you. There is no peace in a relationship where you cannot speak freely. You don't notice it at first. The control doesn't come with chains, it comes with reactions, subtle punishments. Shifts in mood, you bring something up, something that bothers you, and suddenly the air changes, her face tightens, her tone turns cold, and now, instead of being heard, you're being judged, dismissed, maybe even blamed. So the next time you hesitate, you stay silent, you keep it inside, and in that moment a part of you dies. Many men are living in emotional prisons. They're not physically restrained, but they are spiritually trapped. Trapped in relationships where they have to measure every word. Trapped where honesty feels dangerous, where telling the truth leads to arguments, where expressing a need turns into guilt, where every "I feel" is met with "you're too sensitive." This is what walking on eggshells looks like. And I will tell you this with complete clarity. Any relationship where your truth is not welcome is not a relationship. It's a performance. You are not her man, you are her puppet, and the strings are made of fear. Fear of setting her off, fear of emotional withdrawal, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being alone. But what kind of life is that? What kind of man can you become if your heart has to whisper in its own home? True love requires courage, and courage does not mean dominance. It means truth. It means being able to say, "This is how I feel," without fear of retaliation. It means standing firm in who you are, even if it causes discomfort. Because love that only exists when you're silent is not love. It's control. A woman who truly honors you will not shame your voice. She will lean into it even if it hurts. Because she knows that your truth is sacred, and only in truth can a relationship evolve. Discomfort is part of growth. But fear is not, and if you've been shrinking, if you've been walking on eggshells long enough, eventually you'll stop walking altogether. You'll stop showing up. You'll numb yourself to survive, and you'll call it love. But deep down, you'll know you're just trying not to upset her. This is not your purpose. You were not born to tiptoe around someone's triggers. You were born to speak, to feel, to lead, and to live in a space where your soul is safe to breathe. So ask yourself, are you free in your relationship? Or are you careful? Because the difference between fear and freedom is the difference between surviving and truly being alive. Do not choose a love that cages you. Choose one that calls you higher even when the truth is hard. There comes a moment in every man's journey when the fog begins to clear, not all at once, but little by little. The weight in your chest becomes impossible to ignore. You wake up one morning and something inside whispers, not with anger, not with hatred, but with truth, "I'm not okay here." You've smiled through it. You've justified it. You've told yourself she'll change, that you just need to be more patient, more understanding, more forgiving. But still, the distance between who you are and who you were meant to be keeps growing. This moment, this quiet, gut-wrenching realization, is the beginning of your awakening. Not the kind of awakening that shouts, but the kind that brings you back to yourself. You start to remember the man you were before her approval became your oxygen. You remember the dreams you stopped chasing, the strength you stopped claiming, the peace you kept sacrificing to avoid another emotional war. And suddenly you see it. This wasn't love. This was survival. You weren't thriving. You were managing. Managing her mood, managing her reactions, managing the slow death of your spirit. And now comes the decision that every strong man must face. Do I stay and keep disappearing? Or do I leave and finally choose myself? This choice is not made in anger. This is not revenge. This is returning. Returning to your values, to your voice, to the path that called you long before she ever came along. When you choose you, it doesn't mean you didn't love her. It means you finally remembered to love yourself, enough to stop bleeding for someone who never offered you a bandage. And yes, it will hurt. Walking away will feel like death at first, because the attachment was real. Because the fantasy you built was real, but the relationship, the one that left you empty, confused, diminished, that was not real love. Real love never requires you to betray yourself. So to the man listening right now, standing at the edge of that choice, hear me clearly. You are not selfish for choosing peace. You are not cruel for walking away from chaos. You are not weak for being tired. You are becoming conscious. You are awakening, and when a man awakens, he doesn't become bitter. He becomes disciplined. He becomes anchored. He becomes selective about who gets access to his time, his heart, and his mind. Because now he knows his energy is sacred. His mission is divine, and the wrong relationship, no matter how beautiful, will always be too expensive when it costs him his soul. Choose yourself, not with pride, but with peace. That is where your true power begins. Brother, if any part of this message reached you, if your chest felt heavy, if your eyes burned, if your silence suddenly made sense, then this wasn't just a video. This was your wake-up call, not to hate her, not to blame her, but to finally face yourself and admit the truth you've been avoiding. You're tired, not because you're weak, but because you've been strong for too long in the wrong direction. You've been carrying love on your back, hoping one day it would carry you, but love is not meant to be a burden. It is meant to build you, to sharpen you, to lead you deeper into purpose, not pull you away from it. So today, I ask you not as a content creator, but as a man who's also bled silently in the dark. Choose yourself. Speak up, let go, walk away, start over. Do whatever it takes to protect the man you're becoming. Because one day, when you're standing strong again, with peace in your chest, fire in your eyes, and clarity in your steps, you'll look back at this moment as the one that changed everything. And if this message stirred something inside you, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, so the algorithm pushes it to another brother who needs it. Comment below, share your story. Your truth could save someone else's silence. Share this with a friend, a brother, a man who's losing himself in love. And subscribe to this channel, because we're building a community of warriors who rise in truth, not illusion. You're not alone. You never were, and this is just the beginning. Keep walking.